Hello, good evening. Wow. Let's show some love for all these filmmakers here in the chat. Also, where is everyone tuning in from? I'm guessing it is the GI Film Festival San Diego, that we have a few veterans here in the house. Sound off in the chat. Let me know who we have here with us. Are you active, guard, reserve? Are you a spouse? Are you a dependent? Are you a lovely DD-214 holder? Put that there in the chat. I'd be interested to see who is here joining us. Let's show some love here in the chat. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm BJ Lange. I'm an actor, comedian, and proud United States Air Force medic, retired. I proudly serve as the Community Engagement Fellow for VME, Veterans in Media and Entertainment, and sit on the Artist Council for the Armed Services Arts Partnership. I'm honored to be your moderator for this evening. On behalf of KPBS, our festival organizers, volunteers, and filmmakers, thank you for joining us for our post-screening discussion following the Shorts Block Drama Night. It's Friday night, Drama Night's perfect. Let's get to it, shall we? We are all very excited to have many of the filmmakers and the filmmaking teams here with us. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panelists, go ahead and put it in the chat. We want to get as interactive as we can, so do put that in the chat. Let's welcome our guest to the Talkback. From Guide On, we have producer Tara Donovan. She's here with us. Also with us from the Children's Crusade is the writer-director Joe Mary and Garrett Bettersorth, who was the actor in the film. One of the two actors, I should say. Jojo Erholtz is the director of My War, is with us. And Leonel Escobar of My War is the co-writer and cinematographer, and also a fellow veteran that served the United States Army for 8 years. From Rewind, we have director Stephan Eigenmann and actress Sheila Traister. Also with us is the director of A War on Friendly Grounds, King Jaquell Martin. And from Burger Day, we have the writer-director Audrey Faye and voice actor Scott Hopkins with us. And last but not least, from the team of Saved Rounds, director John Finn, actress and writer Deborah Leonhardt, and writer-actor Doc Farrow. Thank you all for being here. It's an honor to have you all here with us here at the GI Film Festival San Diego. And again, if you have a question that you would like to ask one of these panelists, please do put it in the chat. So let's get started, shall we? Let's start with Saved Rounds and Doc Farrow, my fellow military medical guru. Doc, you served as a Navy corpsman to the Marines with 2 tours in Iraq. So a couple of questions for you. First of all, is this a true story? And how did this film come about? Why was it important for you to tell, Doc?
Thank you, BJ. It is, there's a lot about it that's me. There's a lot about it that is a collection of others' experiences. And what's true or what's figurative and what's literal about it will remain a secret. But what I found most important was that the experiences that I've gone through and that I collected from a lot of other corpsmen and Marines had ended up just overlapping each other. And when I set out for this, it wasn't as important to tell the whole truth. It was just finding that thread of the relationship between a corpsman and Marines and how we have carry that load as well, and in some ways more significant. And I think that we got it across in this film, and that was our main goal. And as we rolled it out, we kept getting the same response back. And I always say, as long as someone finds the same healing that we did making it, then job well done as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Absolutely. Doc, you said healing, and I know your production company, Doc's Office Productions, has a motto, and that motto is where the healing begins. But my question for you, Doc, do you think this is healing for the audience, for the people involved? Certainly, I would imagine this was a cathartic experience for you as well to create this.
Yeah. Well, it had to start with me. It had to start with my healing and my journey coming through this. I will say about Saved Rounds, the man Doc in there is me from 15 years ago. A lot of parts of that is me. It still is me. And so the healing had to start with me first. So it was very, very cathartic and running through a whole bunch of different places in my life where I had to bring it out on film and to write it, to act it. And so there was a lot of healing for me here. What I found from Marines and corpsmen that I sorry, what I found from Marines and corpsmen that that see it or that I run it by and that we got a chance to talk to, and Gold Star wives and people who kind of come back with the same thing. They find a piece of healing in it. They find a place where they get a chance to hold on to the light of the people that they're missing, hold on to the light of their past experiences and including my past experiences, and somehow just a little bit get to let down the load part of it. So yeah, the healing for myself had to start first, and the healing that comes with it is I won't say automatic. It's just a part of the journey because my experiences are not unique. Fear and pain are not unique. Love and joy are not unique. So we'll find the healing in it if we're looking for it. And, you know, going through it myself, having to be able to share what I experience with other people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Doc, I know that John, the director, wasn't able to be here with us tonight, but he is a Vietnam era veteran. Did you guys get the chance to talk? And, you know, was there a reason why you chose him to direct this, you know, with his experience in Vietnam?
I can only say, as far as how John got with us, it was just a fluke of the universe. The universe lined up the right way. I had workshopped the script through Bobby Moresco. Bobby Moresco said, "You're going to want to talk to John Finn." I did talk to John Finn, and John Finn was the one that was supposed to direct it. And he brought so much love and care and honor to the text. And because of his experience, John Finn is a veteran of Vietnam era in the Navy. He was one of the last frogmen before they switched over to Navy SEALs. But not only just in the military, but he is a veteran actor, veteran director, and he was able to bring so much to it that we just couldn't think of. Not only in the technical terms for making a movie, but he was able to bring motifs and themes to this that would touch upon a warrior's journey going back, you know, thousands and thousands of years. So what he brought to it and the love and care that he brought, and he's very much an actor's director. What he brought to this was you know, priceless, and we really grateful that he was here, and also that we could just relax and let go, to know that he had our backs. He was able to take care of our project without us having to sit and fret over it only so much, because we had acting to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Doc, it's nice to know that the ensemble in front of the camera was wonderful, but to hear the ensemble behind the camera and how that kind of you know, lended its way to work out. Speaking of the ensemble in front of the camera, Hector, who played Rod, was hilarious. And my question for you is, was this written that way intentionally? Was he kind of a goofy character?
It was written because Doc was carrying this troublesome deep load. He had to be the light of it. He had to be not only the something that would bring him out of this, whether it was, you know, by force or not, but also he also represents a archetype of military personnel. And when you've got someone who's large like I am, having someone who's smaller that could be that snide and sarcastic and just flip it, and very much so I can name about 30 people just off the top of my head that he represents, you know. And so it was very much I think the more unique thing about him is that when I cast a military project that has veterans in it, I personally will never cast someone who's not a veteran. So we came across him auditioning veterans, and he happened to be stationed the same base, like about 2 blocks away from where I was, and we didn't meet each other until we auditioned for this. But it was very much so, he was written that way for a reason, because Doc could not come out of it by force. It had to be that type of personality that would bring him out, because it's something that he's used to. But yeah, Hector's amazing.
You know, Doc, I think it makes me think of my military days. We can all agree that there were those two people in the unit that kind of resemble that character, but that also helped to lighten the load of the seriousness that Doc was dealing with and the heavy weight of the subject matter. So
Absolutely. That served very much so for the film, and it also in combat. It's like everything's going wrong or something really bad's happening. And what did you just say? How could you think of that right now? Okay, now I've got to laugh. You know, it really was for me. It was being stuck outside of Baghdad for 3 days, or in Fallujah for a month, and it's just you can't be serious all the time. And even when everybody is not going to be serious all the time, but there will be a point where 90% of them are really thinking something serious and really down, and then somebody will say something that just it has to break it all up. And it's the only
absolutely.
way to survive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Deborah, you played Laurie. You also EP'd and wrote this as the daughter of a Marine that served in Vietnam. What did you learn from this experience in working with a group of veterans?
Well, my father was a Marine, and he flew F-4 Phantom reconnaissance jets. And the only stories he ever talked about or would ever talk about when I was growing up were funny stories of when he would go out with all the guys and just get crazy drunk. And he would tell those stories, which were hilarious. Those were great stories. But he wouldn't ever talk about anything else, ever. And it wasn't until I was almost 30 and he was moving to Europe and I was moving to New York that he pulled out all of his photos and slides and actually had some conversations with me about his time there. So for me to be able to do this and spend so much time with, more time with Doc and Hector and John and
veterans outside of just seeing them at Veterans Day and things like that.
Yeah, so we had this whole like cast and crew full of veterans, and I get to hear their stories and experience, live through them and their experience. And so it was really amazing because yes, when it was stuff with my dad, it was drinking with him and his buddies at the Marine Room on Veterans Day. Very different stories and a different era. So I got to sort of see and know my dad through some different eyes, getting to hear some of what Doc and some of the other guys were able to comfortably share with me about their experience. So it was beautiful. It felt like some different parts of my life were put together. And my father was always my biggest cheerleader, and he was having chemo during filming. Oh. But he made it, and he passed the fall after we finished filming. So there was a lot of him in this. So it's very special to me.
Well, those folks that get to watch Deborah get to carry on my wayward son. Sherry wayward on my son. To carry on in his spirit, Deborah. So thank you for sharing that with us. And it's also neat to hear that the filmmaking experience, that process. So many people think the film is for the audience, and of course, on the grand scheme of things on the screen, yes, it is. But that process of what we do as artists and filmmakers, that is fulfilling for us as well. And look at what it's doing right here. So, Deborah, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate it. We're going to jump down. We're going to jump on down to Burger Day. Audrey DeFay is here with us. Audrey, your film Burger Day is the only animation in the festival. So, why did you choose animation as a way to tell this story?
Well, originally I was thinking about doing a live action, but in all reality, I had maybe about 2.5 weeks to like get it all done. And the team that I was collaborating with, we were actually doing a program at USC, and we like doing the film was just totally out of reach. And so in between like binge watching Queen's Gambit and work during lunch, I like just drew a ton of different like slides, and then eventually these turned into like storyboards, turned into an animatic, sort of like trying to animate it myself, I was like, well, all I need are voices now. And I have like a whole team of artists, that I can just like ask. And, fortunately, a bunch of people like Scott that we have like here tonight, and Gwen, I think she's watching, Hannah, and a few others, like my mom even, they all contributed their voices. And lo and behold, we kind of made like a low fidelity animatic. So, I was just working with the resources that I had, carrying on that military spirit.
Absolutely. So did you sketch this on computer? You said you were using I think we were talking offline that you were using a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 to do this.
I have it right here. It's my trusty Note 9. I carry it with me. You can see I have like A/B testing to the right over here. So web design's kind of my background, and I love just being able to sketch out all of my ideas. I do it on my phone. So I'm one of those ridiculous people that actually use like a stylus still. So welcome to the 21st century.
Absolutely. Audrey, do you feel, since you were watching Queen's Gambit, which was amazing, of course,
It was.
did you perhaps get inspired by that at all? Did we see a little bit of that come through on Burger Day?
I would really think so. I think Queen's Gambit has like a lot to do with women who are full of agency and have like the power to shape their surroundings. And in Burger Day, we have like a mother who you would think is relatively powerless, who has lost her daughter, but the reality is that she still has the power of like forgiveness, of healing, and being able to pay that forward. And I think that's a power that's ultimately totally underrated. But by the end of it, everybody is transformed because of it. So I think these are like the lessons that we have to think of in a new light. And it's kind of hard to tell stories like that. But that was kind of what I had in mind. And I took a few notes from like our Greek ancient history play, Hecuba, and that was what we kind of studied with the USC Warrior Bard. So like I'm just kind of grabbing at all these different disparate threads and connecting them.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about next. Your team has a big connection with the University of Southern California's Warrior Bards program. If you're not familiar with it, if you're a vet, check it out. It is really amazing. Can you talk about how you used the inspiration from Greek tragedies as source material?
I think it's really, really rich. That a lot of like Greek tragedy that you wouldn't really expect to know. It does have a lot of roots in like militaristic figures. I think a lot of the authors we learned in the USC Warrior Bards program did have military backgrounds, and many of them totally happened to have service and then went to write plays in Athens. So in many cases, like everybody here today, we're all kind of warrior bards.
Absolutely. Scott, you were the voice of the veteran. As a Marine Corps veteran, just a silly question, just got to ask, did you feel just a little guilty playing a character that was committing stolen valor to get some food? Because a man's got to eat.
Yeah, definitely. It was a weird kind of character to play because of that. Like, I personally couldn't put myself in his shoes. I had never, done that. Obviously, I was in the military. I can't really steal my valor. But it was interesting actually to think about maybe why he would be doing this, and kind of create a persona, create a person, and make it come to life.
Yeah. How was it being picked up with this whole team for the Burger Day? Yeah. And how was that experience for you, for those folks that aren't familiar with it?
So Warrior Bards is a great experience for anybody who is not familiar with it. I definitely recommend that you check it out. It connects our lives today with the experiences that they went through back then. We can read these plays and see things that we ourselves go through. Ajax is really a play about PTSD, which I think a lot of us here are familiar with. and we can take those ideas and that emotions, and we can create our own works. So, we created this play, Burger Day, based on Hecuba. I did a poem that was loosely based on one of the characters that Sophocles came up with, Heraclitus, sorry.
Awesome. Scott and Audrey, thank you very much for being here and for sharing that. Stephan,
Thanks for having us.
yeah. Stephan, for you, your film Rewind is also unique in that it's the only sci-fi film in the lineup. So can you talk about your inspiration for the film?
Well, I just basically love sci-fi, and I really wanted to do something as good as I could with a student budget, basically, and but also do it as good looking as possible, and with a good story. And I tried to keep it simple with just having a daughter-mother relationship story. And then I was always intrigued by the military families in the States because I'm from Switzerland. And we don't have that same story at all, and I got to know a lot of people who are veterans and their stories and everything, and it's just been very interesting, in general. So yeah, I just that was the main inspiration to combine all those things together and learn from that. You always do personal stories, and sometimes you do stories where you want to learn something, something I want to learn about.
Absolutely. Art, to inspire, to change, to motivate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Stephan, you said you're Swiss. What time is it where you are right now?
It's 7:22 a.m. It's the same time as for Jojo, as I know.
Can you tell us what it's like tomorrow?
It's great. You're gonna have a great day. You're gonna have good breakfast. You're gonna hug whoever you're gonna hug, hopefully, even with COVID.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, you're gonna be fine.
And you're going to be glad, audience, that you put a question in the chat that you would like to ask to the panelists. If you have a question that you'd like to ask, go ahead and pop that in here. We still got a few more minutes left here on our discussion, so pop in your questions. Stephan, what do you hope that military families get from watching this film?
I think everyone can sort of relate to, obviously, hopefully not by losing someone, of course, but I think everyone has the same fear. And even with international families, losing a close one is always tragic. So it's always the same story of maybe this is the last day you're going to see someone. So there's a lot of parallels there. And I think everyone, it's very easy to say, it's always easy to forget how fast things can change for someone. And yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stephan. Sheila, you in the project, absolutely fantastic. But I understand this was not your first time playing opposite a robot.
Yeah, I created the acting department at the Colorado Film School back in 1999, and one of my students back then had asked me to be in his film, and I had a love relationship with the robot. It was the first film I did there. So Stephan, when Stephan came to me and it was another robot, I'm like, oh, crazy, how often does that happen? But yeah, I was really excited to be a part of this. I mean, for me personally, my father was also a Vietnam veteran. I'm a veteran. And I often talk about the fact that I think some of my greatest service to this country was as a dependent. And I think we forget about dependents all the time and what they have to endure. When you look at what people have suffered in the pandemic and being isolated, and that, I mean, dependents live that life all the time with their parents, their aunts, their brothers, their sisters overseas. For years at a time, they come back, they get sent back over. And, I moved every 2.5, 3 years of my life from the day I was born. My dad swore me in when I enlisted, but those are powerful years. And so doing this film for me was really powerful. And the woman who played my daughter and the man who played my husband are both veterans in the film as well.
Sheila, what was it like playing opposite a robot?
You know, it was wonderful because the actor inside the suit was really, it wasn't a real robot, but all the facial
It wasn't?
so cool. You know, Stephan really invested to create, I mean, the eyes, and we worked on the smiles and stuff, but actually it, you know, was really lovely, because I think, you know, we always talk about acting as reacting, but I think in life, what we're really reacting to are our own projections and beliefs. We put so much out there and onto other people that living in that world that is of your own imagination. And this character goes through so much. I mean, there's so much that she has to accept given the life, you know, her husband's choice and then her daughter's choice to serve. That Lange, who's the actor inside the suit, is a wonderful actor. He was actually represented the military when they came to my door and presented me with the flag. That's the same actor that's in the robot suit.
Oh.
I'll tell you a little secret there. But he was lovely to play opposite. And I just think it was a sweet story. So
Absolutely. Sheila, playing in that space where, like you said, where we're so used to reacting off of what we get. Certainly, I do a lot of improvisation, and that's really what we're going off of. But this reminded me a lot of, at least I could be in your shoes there. It reminded me of like a commedia where we're using a lot of physical, gesturalization to be able to emote. And that's just kind of what popped in my mind. And that's what led to me asking you this question. Did you find yourself as an actor going internally to develop your emotions for this? Or were you able to pull it from, even though it was just a robot, from that robot?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, our inner world is so rich. I mean, it's full of our experiences from life. And I have to connect, whether I'm talking to a robot, the wall, the camera, and nobody's there. And it's my job to be present to energetically to what's happening. And because Stephan's vision allowed the robot to be humanized. And I think that's one of the things compared to a lot of robot stuff that I've seen, where the robot takes on a real empathetic quality. So for me, it was playing opposite Alec. The fact that his face was covered didn't matter because his physicality, his head positions, the eyes, all of that. He was so present with me, it really didn't matter that he didn't have a mouth and he didn't, wasn't flesh. It really wasn't any different for me. And a lot of that has to do with the way Stephan wrote the story and the way we worked together in developing that relationship.
Absolutely. And it was a beautiful story. Thank you, Sheila. And thank you for reminding us that not only the service member, but the family and to include the kids of service members also sacrificed. Thanks for that reminder. Let's jump over now to the Children's Crusade. Wow, that was intense. Josh, DP and editor, and Garrett, who was the actor, are here with us. Shout out to you, Josh. The bookend scenes, the opening and closing, were chock full of anxiety from me. The ominous door, that door for me got a visceral reaction. Of course, the spatter on the wall. Was there a discussion that you guys had about how long you wanted to hold on that final shot?
Yeah, not until after it was shot, as it was shot. So that was a one take. We had one take to do that because once that blood splattered, we couldn't repaint the walls and shoot them up again and stuff. So we ran through a practice with that a few times, and then I think it was the fourth we actually went for it, and it just worked out, and we just held it until we couldn't hold it no more, and Yeah, that was it. So when it came down to cutting it, we chose to hold it as long as possible to let all that intensity, that 5 minutes there, to let all that sink in for the audience to sit and kind of process what they just saw.
It was a perfect time of like uncomfortability and analyzing what we just saw. But that really stuck out with me. Those bookend scenes were wonderful. Okay, Garrett, I've got a question for you. The moment of humanity in there as the actor, the apology. Can you talk about how it was to play in that scene?
Well, yeah, that looking back on it is kind of it was a hard shoot, me and Harold put in a hard day's work, as is everyone else in that film. But that moment specifically was it was just, of course the makeup artist didn't help. Like, you're looking at Harold, he's all pale, bloodied, and in, as an actor in that moment, you have to accept that, like, okay, I did that to him. So saying sorry was natural.
Yeah.
It came easy in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
For me.
What I guess this question goes back to Josh, or maybe Garrett, you might be able to answer this as well. Was the director's vision to find crew who had similar experiences to understand what they were trying to go for in the story?
We were looking for people that really looked the part. Garrett just nailed the look of the Marine, young Marine, and Harold had he's done some acting at Fort Hood with a lot of they do some interesting what do you want to call it, like suicide awareness and domestic violence classes.
Role play. Yeah,
they do a lot of role playing stuff. So he was very familiar with the working with the military and being around vets and stuff, and that really helped when it came time to do this. And Garrett, man, he came with that Marine haircut, and being in the Army as long as I'd been, I just wanted to make him do push-ups, just the way he was walking around and stuff. It's like, man, get your hands out of your pockets and go do some push-ups somewhere. Like he nailed that role. He looked the part and played the part. We couldn't be more happy with the way that both Harold and Garrett just nailed it.
Yeah. Garrett, just to get in the mindset of a Marine, were you offered any crayons on set from craft services?
There actually there was a point where I think Joe talked about bringing oh my god, I can't remember the name. Man, it's the M. They start with an M.
MRE. Yes,
that's what it is. Yes. He thought about bringing one of those around. He ended up not doing it. I think our meal that day was Chick-fil-A, but it's pretty good.
Awesome, Garrett. I'm glad that you got to be a little bit more connected to the military mindset with that. All right, moving right along, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have a question, again, it's not too late for you to put a question in the chat if you want to ask a question to the panel here. And good evening to you here from the GI Film Festival, San Diego. I'm going to jump over to Leonel. Unfortunately, Yo-Yo had to leave the time difference. Leonel, your film, My War, was riveting. My two words to describe it would be enormously simple, but that don't confuse that with like boring. I could feel all of the anxiety all the way through this entire 4 minutes. My question is, what drew you to this project?
It was a school assignment that we had to complete a short film under 4 minutes. And so I reached out to Yo-Yo, and also there can't be any dialogue in the film. So it's how do we express a feeling, a very subjective moment in this character's life within 4 minutes without any dialogue. And so we just talked about how we can use the camera as a very subjective tool to put the audience in the mindset of that character, and also sound design and all that. So yeah, you say it's at its surface, it looks very simple, but to try to cram those emotions within that short period of time And we try to utilize production design, hair and makeup, costumes, camera, and all that just to. So it was a very challenging project for us.
Absolutely. You know, you talked a lot about you know, the production design and the sound. It was, to me, it felt like the sound and all of the different items in the store were becoming their own characters in and of itself. Can you talk a little bit deeper about how you accomplished that?
Yeah, it was just like me and Yo-Yo were talking about like, okay, how do we transition this character from this moment into a traumatic moment? And you know, and we talked about using props as tools that, you know, can kind of reflect sounds that would remind her of war and slowly start transitioning to that point to bring her to that mindset to be able, I guess, to trigger that moment and take the audience into a very dramatic moment that happened in this character's life. Which, yeah.
Thank you for that. It was amazing. Let's jump over to Guide On. Tara, can you tell me, is this based on a personal experience, perhaps that of Paige Compton, the writer-director?
Yeah, Paige is the writer-director. She is an Army veteran. And in her own boot camp experience, she wanted to be the guidon bearer. And as she puts it, wanting to stand out in the military is never a good thing. So her, at the time, drill sergeant had never had a female guidon before and certainly didn't make it easy on her to achieve that. But at her graduation, she carried the guidon. So we thought that might be an inspiring story to tell, and also to show women in a little bit different light between both the recruit and a drill sergeant. So that's how it kind of transformed a little bit from her own personal story.
Tara, the DP, Dae Hyung Kim, served in the Korean military. Is that true? And what was that dynamic like to work with another veteran of another country?
Yeah, he South Korea, he was in the Army before he moved to the States to pursue filmmaking. And I honestly believe, you know, a bond between a director and a DP is essential to making a film. And I think that his understanding of that, you know, I think military is fairly similar across the world in terms of, you know, the rank and file and the training. And I believe that he had a really good understanding of that and was able to work with Paige in telling that story visually, and getting a lot of that across. And they came up with a really good visual language in terms of when, you know, the drill sergeants were around and that sort of a thing, and the anxiety that they can cause. And then when the drill sergeants were alone, you know, they were funny.
Absolutely. It's just like real life, for sure. I understand your production designer got a field trip. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, Paige trained at Fort Jackson, and every year they have a day that the public can come and visit. And so she and Caroline Grebner, our production designer, hopped on a plane from LA and just went for 2 days, did the whole grand tour of everything. And we had to basically recreate, you know, Fort Jackson in Los Angeles, Southern California. So hiding a lot of palm trees came into play. But in terms of the barracks and the guidon itself, it was really a good experience for her to get that experience, to bring an authenticity to it.
As a veteran, I felt connected to the story due to its family business and tradition of honor and legacy values. During the casting, do you know if they were looking for actors who had guidon or drill experience, or did you have to train someone on set?
Yeah, so actually we were looking for veterans, and we were a little more passionate about finding veterans in our drill sergeant roles necessarily than our recruits, because they're brand new, our recruits. It's fun. But with the guidon, we wanted to show that our lead, Hallie Farrow, was exceptional at it, and her nemesis Brody also had to be exceptional, because we wanted it to be, you know, a real fair fight between them. So Hallie was on board for a few weeks in training, specifically with a mop, actually, for a few weeks. And then our original Brody injured himself, offset, nothing to do with us. And we actually had to recast the role 2 days before filming. And we had seen Sean, who ends up playing Brody, after we had cast Brody. Originally, he auditioned for Williams. And instantly we thought he'd be perfect. We called him and he learned how to do the guide-on moves on set during breaks.
Wow.
We shot that scene the last day to give him the full 4 days to learn how to do it.
That is amazing. Way to pull through.
He did. He really pulled through. They both did. They non-military, either of them, and they really came through with the moves.
Absolutely. Speaking of coming through with the moves, let's get on to our last film here in the block, A War on Friendly Grounds. King is here with us. King, is this based on something that happened to you and what happens, unfortunately, so many Black veterans? Your message was very clear.
Yeah, this happened to me when I was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. The same officer is the same officer who beat up the little girl at Spring Valley High School in South Carolina. So my whole goal of the film is to build a bridge between the public and the police, and also to show people no matter what you go through, you can actually overcome and still do something with your life, and one moment doesn't define your life. So I went from being a soldier, I was like soldier of the month, soldier of the quarter, winning commander's cups for my unit, to getting wrongfully beat up in my military uniform. They beat me up. They beat my ex-wife up in front of me and sexually harassed her in front of me. I went from wrongfully facing 10 years in jail to moving to California, starting acting. I wound up booking HBO Ballers. I actually had a book signing on the set of HBO Ballers. I don't know if you guys follow the show, but season 4, episode 10, they did a show about athletes and taking a stand. And so I went over to the director and I just told him I wanted to thank him. He had no clue about my story. He didn't know anything about me. And I just told him I wanted to thank him for telling the truth, because Ballers is one of the top shows on HBO, and you don't have to touch a subject like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for them to have the courage to tell the truth, it meant so much to someone like me who didn't think I had a voice. And once he found out who I was, because I started crying in front of him because it meant so much to me, I wound up having a book signing on set. And what was so crazy is I used to do security on Fox when I first moved to California. So the same people that I was doing security with were the same people that saw me walk into a trailer. So I was able to tell them how, that their dreams can become a reality just as well. So this is just an opportunity to, create healing and love again.
Absolutely. You talked about flipping the script, as it were. Okay, pun intended on that one, King. But we talk a lot in the military, teachable moments. And I think this was a perfect opportunity for that in your project. And I know now, you are finding your voice. And if I'm not mistaken, you're at the New York Film Academy studying directing. Do you have any other, projects and stories in the works, opportunities to be able to continue to tell these types of stories?
Yes, I do. I started a production company called Look in the Mirror Productions. And so my next film is actually called Twitter Fingers. And so we all know about the George Floyd incident, and somebody decided to come up with a challenge, about I can't breathe or whatever else with the George Floyd. And so when I did an interview with Jake Tapper about what happened to me, he asked me, if you saw the officer again, what would you say? And I said, I forgive him. And I think sometimes people don't understand what forgiveness really is. And it was really about me for myself, because I could have went and did something ignorant, got a gun, whatever, just anything foolish. But by me finding forgiveness in my heart, it allowed me to take my anger, my hurt, and my pain and put it into a book. Because of Colin Kaepernick and what he did when he took a knee, and Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan when they did Fruitvale Station, it made me feel like, hey, your story is important too. And this whole situation is bigger than you, because you're not the first, nor you're the last. So I reached out to the young lady, and I also just got done reaching out to the lieutenant who had the encounter with the police as well, because I thought it was very important, because sometimes you could see a building, right? And we see that the building is on fire. And we were like, oh my God, the building's on fire. But for the people actually inside the building, it's a total different experience. Yep. So I wanted to let him know that he wasn't by himself in this building of fire, and that, hey, bro, I went through it. I love you. You can overcome it. PTSD is real. When I saw it happening to you, I relived it happening to me again. But I just want to let you know you're loved, and we together, you know, God willing, that we can help continue to create the change.
Mm-hmm. King, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're telling these stories. And thank you for joining us here at the GI Film Festival, San Diego. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there are plenty of great films for you to catch throughout this festival. We hope that you see as many films as your schedule allows. You can check out all of those films, on-demand rental options, and all that jazz at gifilmfestivalsd.org. Thank you to all of the folks who are involved in making this virtual festival possible, including our advisory committee members, the Film Consortium San Diego, hello, Jody, our film festivals, and our festival sponsors and our partners, who are the California Arts Council, Scatina Daniels Communications, National University Task and Purpose, and the San Diego International Airport Arts Program. In the email you get for this screening, there will be a link for the survey. Please fill out that survey so that we can do better for you at the 2022 GI Film Festival San Diego. Bravo to all of our filmmakers and storytellers. Aim high, fly, fight, win, and thanks for joining us. Have a great summer. From all of us here at the GI Film Festival San Diego, good night.